Hello YouTube, this is Hunter Surge here with another Firestorm Deck Profile. Hey, who wants to commit more war crimes? So we already went over the first war crime deck of Firestorm, so let's talk about the other. That being, of course, Majesea Turbo, the new Elestral from Firestorm that lets you turn off all of your opponent's Elestral's effects by making them all misenchanted. Isn't that fun? Yeah, let's talk about how to build it. But before that, if you are buying anything from the Shop Elestrals site, I have an affiliate code now that is linked down in the description. So if you're buying anything from there, I would appreciate if you use my affiliate code. It would help me out a lot. With that said, let's get into the deck. Alright, so here's the list. So let's quickly go over Majesea itself for those who might be unfamiliar with what the card does. So, Majesea is a 6 attack, 14 defense, 3 water spirit Elestral. While Poseidon is enchanted and it's in attack position, all spirits enchanting Elestrals on the field, either player's field, are water instead of their original element. That means that any Elestral on either player's field that has any spirit in their enchantment cost that is not a water will become misenchanted and lose all of its effects. Very powerful stuff. Turns off a lot of powerful stuff. Its second effect is that when it's in defense position, you can return 2 water spirits from your underworld to your spirit deck. So you heal 2. Very good stuff. Now, how do we get into that Majesea? Well, step number 1 is Sluggle, Champion of Poseidon. This is a 1/3, 1 water spirit Elestral that when it receives 1 or more water from Poseidon's effect, you can special send it to a Globby from your hand or your deck. Poseidon is, of course, at the moment, water's only divine rune. It is 1 water enchantment cost. You can put 3 more water spirits from your spirit deck onto it when you cast it. And you can Nexus, once per turn, you can Nexus a single water spirit from Poseidon to anything else on your field. So you get Sluggle, you get Poseidon, you get Sluggle, you get Poseidon with like at least 2 on it. We Nexus from Poseidon to Sluggle, and we ascend into not the new champion Globby, but the original Globby from base set, also found in tournament pack, also reprinted in the Poseidon starter deck. It is a 4 attack, 8 defense, 2 water spirit Elestral, with the effect that you can special send it into a Majesea from your hand or deck if it is enchanted with 3 water spirits. So, you already have 2 spirits on this Sluggle, then you ascend with the effect into Globby, and because you ascended, you have to take a spirit from your spirit deck and put it onto this Sluggle, onto this Globby. This Globby now has 3 water spirits enchanting it, so it can immediately ascend into the Majesea. So if you have Poseidon plus Sluggle, you immediately have the capacity to go straight up into the Majesea. Very, very powerful stuff. Now, there's been a few different ways of using Majesea that have been bouncing around. I've seen, because like Majesea does have some distinct weaknesses. Of course, this does not do anything about runes, so your opponent can like Thunderstorm your Poseidon, they can Earthquake your Majesea, they can run out like a 5 attack Elestral and play out Zeus, drop down your Majesea's attack to 3 with the Zeus effect, and then they will beat over your Majesea with their 4 or 5 attacker. Simple stuff. So that 6 attack is a very big weak point, and you also have to deal with like removal runes. So the idea has been suggested, okay, what if we instead just use Majesea as a healer? We just plop it in defense, we heal 2 every turn, and we use it as part of like the existing heal control deck, or we use it as part of like 5s. I think the fundamental issue with that concept is that to have access to Majesea, you of course need to run the Majesea, the Globby, a couple copies of Sluggle, a couple copies of Poseidon. I think like bare minimum you can get away with 1/1/2/2. That is 6 cards. If you want 3 of the Poseidon and 3 of the Suggle, which you probably do for consistency's sake, that brings you up to 8. That is a fifth of your deck. The strength of decks like Heal Stall, Heal Control, and 5s is that like every card in those decks is like individually good. Like outside of like the Argo targets, basically everything in those decks is just an individually powerful card. So every time you draw a card for turn, you can be assured that the card you're getting off the top is pretty good. It's going to be a card that's going to be able to do something like notable on its own. None of these cards do anything notable on their own. They're all really bad individually. They're only any good in the combo. So running Majesea in that way does not actually make any sense to me. I don't think it works at all. I think all you will end up doing is making those existing archetypes worse. So I think it makes a lot more sense to lean in on making it as consistent as possible to get Majesea out and protecting Majesea once it is out, so you can get maximum value out of the forced misenchantment effect that has. You will still be making use of the heal effect. There are a lot of ways for us to use an effect to switch Majesea's position, so that we can have it in defense, get the heal effect, and then switch it back to attack, and reactivate the forced misenchantment, which is very powerful. So let's get into those tools that we have. First up, we have 3 copies of Original Galaxy from base set, also reprinted in the Chronodial starter deck. This is a 2/5 1-water Spirit Elestral that swaps the stats of all water enchanted Elestrals on the field. So this will swap the stats of all of your opponent's Elestrals because they'll all be water enchanted. But more importantly than that, it means that your Majesea will now be sitting at 14 attack. So while Galaxy is on the field until your opponent deals with Galaxy, then Majesea is not under threat of being taken down by Zeus plus a 5, which is a good place to be. Having 1 cost that you can just run out that just remove that weakness is very, very good. Then we have Eddie. Eddie is a very powerful tool in this deck. There is a consideration for Champ Galaxy, but Champ Galaxy doesn't keep our stats swapped during the opponent's turn. And Eddie has a separate synergy that's very powerful in this deck. So Eddie, of course, is a 1-water Spirit Elestral with 4 attack, 1 defense. And when you cast Eddie, you get to change the position of any Elestral on the field. Now, typically, you're going to be using that to change the position of your opponent's Elestrals. However, you can also change the position of one of your own Elestrals. Typically, that has mainly been used for like, oh, I have... my foamy got destroyed. I crashed my foamy in during my turn. I'm going to cast out this Eddie in defense because of foamy's effect. It has to special cast it out in defense. Well, now I'm going to go, okay, Eddie will switch itself with its own effect to attack and be able to attack him for 1 damage or attack over something that Eddie can beat over, yada, yada, yada. In this context, of course, it means that we can have Majesea, use Eddie effect, switch Majesea to defense, heal 2 with Majesea, and then switch Majesea back to attack so that the forced misenchantment is back online. Then we have our big consistency tools. We have 3 Rabbit, of course, on receive of a Thunder. Just looks at top 3, grabs any card from among them. Really good for helping us gather our 2-card combo to get Majesea out, and other very, very important pieces that we want to have. Then we have Pelocarius. This is a 1-wind Spirit Elestral. Something to keep in mind, of course, is that even if you have Majesea out, with these off-element Elestrals, you can always choose to switch Majesea to defense, go in for its heal, and now you can cast out those Elestrals and get their effects if you really want them. So Pelocarius is a 3/4 1-wind Spirit Elestral that on cast lets us add a 1-water Spirit Elestral from our deck to our hand. So the main reason, there are a couple reasons why we're on this instead of Foamy. Because like we of course need ways to find our Sluggle, right? Foamy is a way to do that because when Foamy is destroyed, we can special cast out the Sluggle from our deck, right? I think Pelocarius is much better because we really, really, really don't want our way of finding our 2-piece combo to die to like a Spectaris or our opponent having like Earthquake or any other sort of removal. That's really not where we want to be. Also, if our opponent has multiple Elestrals and they swing into Foamy, we're now left with the choice of, okay, we cast out the Sluggle, and then we have to use a counter rune to protect the Sluggle, or we cast out another Foamy, and they can just go, okay, I'm just not going to attack into the Foamy, because I know you're just going to go into Sluggle here. And they just leave it, and you're kind of screwed. Peliperius is just always going to go, I'm adding the Sluggle. The Sluggle is getting to my hand. You don't have to worry about any of the weird outplays that your opponent can do against Foamy. There's no reason to open yourself up to that. There's nothing much else to say there. Of course, it can also find us Galaxy and Eddy, which is very, very useful. Then we have 2 copies of Plucky with Electric Band. Plucky is the only way we have at the moment of searching out our copies of Poseidon. Of course, Plucky is 1 Solar Spirit Elestral, 1 attack, 4 defense. And when you special cast this Plucky, you can search your deck for a Divine Rune and add to your hand. We need this to find Poseidon. In like normal decks, I would never run Plucky, but this deck absolutely needs to be able to find Poseidon, so Plucky is important here. Then we have 3 Nectar of the Gods, just more ways for us to dig. You'll notice that I don't have any copies of Ambrosia in this deck. I think that Majesea is very similar to Blistrix in that Ambrosia is like not a very good card for the deck. It doesn't really contribute a whole lot. You have access to all the healing you could ever desire off of Majesea if you get to it, and if you are like super low on spirits and your Majesties have been cleared, you're cooked anyways, and Ambrosia is not likely to help you out that situation. So it's better to cut the Ambrosias and spend those slots on things that will contribute to our primary game plan. Speaking of, Rise from the Ashes. It is really bad for this deck that this got hit to 1. In my early testing of Firestorm, this deck was performing pretty solidly, but that was with Rise at 3. Rise at 3 was really important for this deck because Rise was a mechanism by which we could go, okay, we got Earthquake, we got PTA, that's fine, we're just going to Rise back to Majesea, it's not a problem at all. And it was even like another solution to like getting hit by shield, because okay, our Majesea got shielded, that's fine. We can go Rise in the Ashes, Globby, then ascend into Majesea from our hand. But with Rise at 1, it makes things a lot more difficult. The main reason we are running 2 copies of Majesea and 2 copies of Globby is because of this hit. If Rise was at 3, we would have absolutely no need to be doing this. But since Rise is at 1 now, we really need to be able to go through the line again, potentially. So we have to run the 2nd copy of Majesea. We have to run the 2nd copy of Globby. Which is very unfortunate because one of my favorite cards in this deck was Harpy, which was a new Water Elestral from this set that draws 2 and is destroyed by battle if you have a Divine Rune on the field, and your opponent cannot choose attack Elestrals that aren't Harpy. So it was really good for like taking attack attention off of Majesea and also being like an early game draw engine. Really nice card for the deck, but with the need for this and some other things that we kind of really have to do with Rise at 1, then we just don't have space for that card anymore, and it's really unfortunate because I like that card a lot in the deck. Another card that became absolutely mandatory because of Rise going to 1 is Hurricane. We really don't want to get hit by PTA. Honestly, I think there's a really strong argument to running a 3rd copy of Hurricane in this deck. Like I think you could cut like a Galaxy for that, or maybe one of the counter runes. But it's really important that we don't get hit by PTA when we go into our Majesea, or clear Gorgon's Gazes that could blank our big combo. So Hurricane's ability to just clear out every counter rune our opponent might have set face down is really, really, really big for the deck. We also have, and then we have our counter runes. Very similar to how Blizz decks were built. The counter runes you want to be running here are the counter runes that are like, okay, this will always protect Majesea. There is like no scenario where these are like basically attack negates. Gorgon's Gaze and Shield are just straight up attack negates, and Altar in most scenarios is going to be effectively an attack negate. The big thing is, unlike Blistrix, we just can't run Tsunami. Because Tsunami, of course, changes the position of all Elestrals to defense position unless they are water enchanted. And if Majesea is in attack position, every Elestral on the field is water enchanted. So Tsunami doesn't do anything. So instead, we have to run Altar. However, Altar actually has some really strong synergies with the deck. Because Altar, the way we're typically going to be using Altar, is we're going to be switching our Majesea to defense. Basically, zero chance that whatever our opponent has is going to be able to get over Majesea's 14 defense. If they do, we can just switch whatever that is to defense. But most of the time, we're just going to get to switch Majesea to defense and blank their attack. Which means, when it comes over to our turn, Majesea is now going to be in defense, and we can heal 2 before switching Majesea back to attack position and forcing misenchantment again. Very cool synergy, very good. You will almost always be able to Nexus as well, because to get to Majesea to begin with, you need Poseidon. And also, the nature of the Ascension path means that Majesea is always going to be coming out with 4 spirits on it. So it has an extra spirit that I can use for Nexusing. Really, really great. Then, of course, we have our 3 copies of Poseidon, because it is a key piece of our combo, and we need it. And then we have 2 copies of Trident of Poseidon. Trident of Poseidon is a really, really obnoxious card. I kind of hate this card. So Trident of Poseidon is Poseidon's signature artifact rune, of course. It is a 2 Water Spirit artifact rune. And the Empowered Elestral gets +2 attack and cannot be targeted by counter runes. Now, that part, not particularly relevant. The main counter rune that targets is Poison Tipped Arrow. I can't really think of any other counter runes at the moment that target an Elestral. And obviously, we can't already have Trident on Elestral at the timing that that we would be casting, that we would be vulnerable to Poison Tipped Arrow. Like, it's just not possible. That's not how it works. Very strange first effect, doesn't really do anything. However, its second effect is while Poseidon is enchanted, your opponent cannot cast counter runes. Just can't use them at all. So they can't use Gorgon's Gaze to temporarily turn off our Majesea effect. They can't use Shield when we attack in with Majesea. That's the big one. Having Trident up means that we can now go, okay, I don't have to worry about you having Shield anymore because you can't use it. You're not allowed to use that card anymore. My Majesea gets to swing in for free now. And Argos can't be used, and Don't Poke can't be used. This turns off everything. There's honestly an argument to running 3 copies of this card. Now, one thing I will warn is don't use Argo with Trident. Argo and Trident have actually really bad anti-synergy. Because, okay, so like the main thing we're trying to protect against is Shield. So let's say we're trying to use the Argo offensively. We go Majesea, swing in. We flip Argo, and go to cast out the Trident. They chain Shield. Shield resolves before the Trident is on the field. Okay, let's try the other way around. We swing in. They use Shield. They use their Shield of Achilles. And we go, okay, we'll flip up Argo. Trident will not be cast until the next chain. It goes into Limbo and will be cast on the next chain. Which means, once again, Trident is not on the field empowering our Majesea when Shield resolves and bounces to Majesea. And also, Shield has already been cast. Like, it's already been cast. It only stops casting. So really, really bad anti-synergy. And of course, if we're trying to use it defensively, 2 attack is often not going to be enough. There's a reason Necklace is used as the target for Argo a lot of the time. And also, that gives your opponent complete agency over when you get Trident. And that's really not the best place to be. That's really not ideal. Yeah. So I don't think Argo plays well with Majesea at all. Like, if your opponent has shield, they can just choose to never swing in, never give you the chance to activate Argo, and you're still left in the situation of, well, I'm just giving them a billion years to get to the point where they can do this. And they can always just set up an Elestral that's going to have enough attack through, like, Zeus to kill your Majesea through Trident, or at least Crash. So you don't want to use Argo as a way to get more consistency of Trident. Really, if you want more access to Trident, you just run the third copy, and you just try to raw draw it. You have Nectars in here. You can get there. It's fine. So that is it for the main deck. It is just entirely built around, we are going to get out Majesea. You're going to shut down your attempts to deal with Majesea, and we are just going to win the game off of the power of Majesea. That is the goal of this deck. I think this is probably the most viable way of running Majesea, and honestly, it hasn't tested horribly, but I don't think this is a top tier contender by any stretch. But let's get into the Spirit deck real quick. And here is our Spirit deck. This is 11 water, 4 thunder, 3 wind, 2 solar. We of course need the winds for the Peliquarius and the Hurricane, thunders for Astrabbit, and Hurricane and solar for Plucky. We go a bit higher on these other spirits, not because we necessarily need that, but because every spirit is going to become water anyways, and we can heal so much water anyways off of Majesea. So, like, there's really no need to be worried about going higher up on these other spirit types. And there are also good reasons in the sideboard to be on this much thunder. So let's get into the sideboard strategy. So the thing is that, like, our main deck is pretty well prepared for anything that we could go up against, anything that can threaten Majesea. Like, you could maybe sideboard Divine Blessing to help deal with thunderstorms and stuff like that, but that's about it. So I think it makes a lot more sense to spend your sideboard on a smokescreen sideboard. Basically, it will allow you to go, okay, I'm fighting a matchup that is too difficult for the Majesea stuff to deal with. It has too many answers to what I am doing. So I'm going to switch out a bunch of the cards in my main board for a different type of strategy, which is, we have Veritaqua that can go into Javalantis off Poseidon or off the Tsunamis, which we now bring in. We bring in the PTAs for more counter runes as well. We bring in the Ambrosius to be a normal deck, and we bring in the Zeuses. We have the Galaxies and the Eddies already in main. Peliquarius and Plucky can already be, like, okay-ish as searchers for Eddie and Galaxy, and for Zeus, and also for Poseidon. So we can smokescreen sideboard into, like, a decently competent 5s type strategy that leverages the strength of the Javalantis, champion of Poseidon. Veritaqua being like a 4/3 that can just ascend into it off of Poseidon, stuff like that. That is the basic concept of this smokescreen sideboard. I think it is probably the best use of your sideboard slots that you can get in Majesea. I don't really think that there's anything else that would be quite worth this. For what specifically you would be signing out, you would be taking out the Majeseas, the Globbies, the Sluggles, of course. So that is 7 cards. Then we would take out the Nectars, the Rise probably, the Tridents, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 2 more cards. This could be the Plucky is an option here, or we can just go down on, like, 1 Altar, 1 Poseidon. Either of those is a decent option. And that will get us to a more normal looking deck that can just, like, play the game on a normal access and attempt to win that way if the Majesea stuff is not good enough into the matchup that you're facing. So yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed yet another War Crimes deck. We're not going to be covering more War Crimes next week. This is going to be it for this week's deck profiles. We'll be doing more next week. But of course, we have Premiere coming up this weekend, so I'll have my tournament report, I don't know, like Sunday for that. And we'll start going over some more of the Firestorm decks. We still have like 3 star decks to cover, as well as a bunch of other strategies that are possible in Firestorm to cover. So I hope you look forward to that. And with that said, this is Henry Search, signing off.